So up until very recently, I've had a tricky time with New Year's resolutions and making them stick. I'd sit down, super determined, and make that commitment to change. And then for the next month, I'd follow through with it. I'd put in a lot of work and effort towards that goal. But inevitably, that effort is starting to fade off, and I sink back into my old habits. Now, a lot of people tend to have a similar story, but they tend not to understand why that resolution failed in the first place. I feel like understanding why you fail is the first step in order to start succeeding in the future. So let's take it to a slightly warmer Isaiah who's going to get us started. So one reason could be that you didn't really believe your resolution. This is something that James Clear talks about. He is one of the top brains when it comes to habit forming and routine making. He says that in order to change your actions, you must first change how you think about yourself. And then when you change that thinking, have that belief guide your decisions. So if your resolution was to get healthier and you walk into the kitchen, you have an option. Maybe you could eat an apple or you can eat some junk food. Without having that core belief about yourself changed, it's basically up to your willpower on if you'll eat healthy or not. And if you're watching this video, you probably already know the limitations of willpower and how you mightn't always have it. So in that scenario, you might end up eating the junk food and moving away from your resolution. If when you're about to make that choice, you have in your head that you're the type of person who eats healthy, it's going to put pressure on your brain to try to stay in line with that identity you've carved out for yourself. And this doesn't just help you in the moment, it helps you long term too, because it creates a feedback loop. Every time you make a positive choice like that, it is a signal to your brain that you are that type of person, and it reaffirms it a little bit more. The more good choices you make, the easier it is for you to make those good choices. But without that belief, things can fall apart quite quickly. So if that is your case, try to have the mindset that you want to become the type of person who embodies the goals you're trying to reach. Now, even if you have all the belief in the world, sometimes that belief isn't enough. Sometimes the goal you're trying to get to is not the right one for you. Now, this could sometimes happen when people want to learn a skill, like for instance, learning to play the guitar. Let's take someone who wants to learn the guitar because they think it is cool, and let's compare that with somebody who wants to be a great musician because they have a love for music. Now, which do you think is going to have a better time getting motivation to achieve their goal? Your goal is weak because you have a weak why. You have a weak reason for wanting to achieve it. But if this is something that you found yourself falling into, there's two choices that you have. The first is to think about that goal you're trying to achieve and try to get to a stronger reason for doing it. But if you're unable to do that, you have option 2, which is to drop your current goal and pick something that fills that void a little better for you. In this circumstance, you don't have to think of quitting as giving up. Instead, it is more picking the best option for you. There's only so much time that you have in the day. So, wouldn't you want to put it towards something that you actually find is important? So for your current resolutions and your next ones, try to get to a solid sense of why you're doing it. So another reason could be that you lost motivation because you were putting effort in and weren't seeing any end result. So I'm going to show you why that happens and how to avoid it with this yo-yo. So let's pretend that the yo-yo is you. The green tape is the goal that you want to reach, and me pulling on this string represents you putting the effort into getting that goal. So this is where James Clear is going to come back into play, and he says that progress tends to lag behind the effort that we put in. And it sounds complicated, but it makes sense, right? You're not going to go to the gym and lift a couple weights and then come back super jacked. That's just not how it works. It takes a lot of time and energy for your body to restore and to get up to that level. So with the yo-yo example, you can see I'm pulling on the yo-yo, and that is you putting in the effort, putting in the hours. But as you can see, you are not really going anywhere. You're not getting to that progress. You're not really moving from where you started. So you're putting in all this effort and time and energy and emotion, and nothing is happening. So you do the logical thing. You say it's not worth putting in the effort to go nowhere. If that is you, you are in what James Clear calls the valley of disappointment. This is where a lot of people stop working towards their resolutions. But if you get out of the valley of disappointment, there's something interesting that happens. So as you can see, I'm pulling on the rope again, but eventually we'll get to a point where instead of just spinning, the yo-yo starts to move. You start to move towards your goal. And now that that breakthrough has happened, you'll start seeing those returns a lot more frequently. So if you think you have fallen victim to the valley of disappointment, the best way to fix it is to start back up and keep in mind that progress lags behind effort. It could just be that you're making a very simple mistake. Your goals could be too broad or too vague for you to actually achieve them. You want to make your resolutions and goals actionable. You want, when you read them over or when you have them in your mind, to know exactly what you're going to do from that sentence. So for example, wanting to be healthier could have a bunch of different meanings. Does it mean you're going to sleep better? Does it mean you're going to eat better? Does it mean you're going to exercise more? There's a lot of different avenues you can take. And that vagueness is going to be one extra barrier from you actually doing the things that get you to be healthier. If right now you think your resolution is too broad or too vague, next time around I think you should make them more concrete and smart. And you can check out my video here to learn all about how to do that. At the end of the day, for whatever reason you might have failed your resolution, I want you to understand that it's not over and there's things you can do to turn it around. It doesn't have to be a new year or a new day or a new month. All you need is the right knowledge. If you want some more of that knowledge, I have another video here inspired by James Clear talking all about how to make great habits. Forming good habits is absolutely essential if you want to make positive changes on your life. So if you're interested in that, check it out right here. But now we're at the end of the video. My name is Isaiah. Please press like if you learned something, and I hope that you keep improving. Take care.